Hello everyone, it is I, Ned the Cheese. In this video I thought I would introduce 3 of the cheeses from my book, A Cheesemonger's History of the British Isles. This is Peroche. It's a young, fresh goat's cheese made by a lovely man called Charlie Westhead in Hereford. Now, it's not exactly the cheese that features in the first chapter of my book. That's a cheese called Slatelet, which was a young, fresh goat's cheese made in Somerset by a nice lady called Mary Holbrook, but she and the cheese are no longer around anymore. So Peroche is standing in for Slatelet. The reason I chose it is I think that this simple, fresh, delicately flavoured and eminently low-tech kind of cheese was the sort of cheese that people were making in the Neolithic period in Britain and Ireland. Now, the thing is, there aren't any Neolithic cheese makers around to tell me that, and they weren't much for writing things down. So I kind of guessed, but it's an educated guess, because I don't think they'd have had a lot of cheese technology. They certainly, we find these small, shards or small pots that they were preserving milk in, or rather, turning milk into cheese. So I think this kind of basically a low-tech cheese, very delicate, very fresh, very nice, in fact. The 18th century chapter, so for me the 18th century cheese par excellence is Stilton. And I don't know, I think that's sort of obvious. It's kind of red-faced squires kind of cheese. Now, I am quite perverse, so instead of actually using Stilton as my 18th century cheese in the book, I use a cheese called Stitchelton, which is this. Now, I would say a few things about it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's made by my mate Joe Schneider, who's a brilliant cheesemaker. It's not the only reason he's my mate, he's quite nice too. And one thing I would say, just a little bit of a tip about blue cheese, notice there isn't all that much blue. What I like in a blue cheese is the balance between the blue and the cheese, the way the blue is acting on the cheese to ripen it. It's that flavour I'm looking for, rather than a really heavily blued sight to see in the cheese. It's a lovely texture which you can't tell, and I would eat some to prove it, but you wouldn't be able to tell, and also it would be weird watching me eat some cheese. Now, the name takes a bit of explaining. The Stilton Makers Association decided almost 25 years ago, that all Stilton would be made with pasteurised milk. So you cannot make a cheese in the Stilton making area to the method of Stilton and call it Stilton if you use raw milk. Joe Schneider does use raw milk, so he calls his cheese Stitchelton, which is the Anglo-Saxon name for the town of Stilton. Make of that what you will. The 19th century, obviously, is all about cheddar. I mean, that's just totally clear to everyone, right? Well, I would say that I think the cheddar we eat now is the proper cloth-bound, see that lovely texture on the rind where it's been bound on its cloth, this lovely sort of cloth-bound cheddar, handmade on a farm in Somerset, or indeed anywhere in good cheddar making country, is the product of Victorian farming and Victorian cheese making methods, personified by a woman called Edith J. Cannon, who made cheddar for a bloke who was kind of codifying cheese making methodology. So this cheese is called Wescombe cheddar because it's made on Wescombe Farm by a lovely man called Tom Calvo, who's also my friend. Hi, Tom. And I picked this because it's a gorgeous cloth-bound cheddar from Somerset, so very much that eminently kind of traditional home of cheddar and that style of cheddar. The other thing that I only found after I picked it is that Edith J. Cannon made cheese on Tom's farm. How cool is that? Now, I'd say a couple of things about this. You see some cracks in the paste. That's what we call the main body of the cheese. So it's not a totally uniform texture. That's more what I expect from a proper cheddar. Like I said, there's that lovely texture. It's been cloth bound. Beautiful, slightly sunset yellow colour from the rich pasture of Somerset. A lot of people talk about wanting cheddar that's going to burn the roof of their mouth off. Personally, I don't like food to hurt me. I like comfortable food that just is a pleasure to eat. So for me, what I love in a cheddar like this is the balance. There isn't that burning acidity. There's acidity, but it's there in a mix of other flavours, including grass, hay, a bit of earth, a bit of old church. Gorgeous cheese. So that's 3 of the more than 50 cheeses that are mentioned in my book. 3 of the ones that are the main feature in A Cheesemonger's History of the British Isles, out in paperback now, available in all good bookshops. Thank you very much.